The new EFL Championship season starts in just a few hours' time. Let's have one last look at the bookmakers' predictions for the upcoming 23-24 season on the day the season starts. Welcome back to yet another video, guys. As I say, the season starts tonight. Do make sure to join us for a stream for Sheffield Wednesday Southampton on the channel later today, and we'll have so much coverage of the EFL Championship season when it gets underway. Let's get straight into this video, guys. Before we do so, please do make sure to hit that like button. We'll go for 300 likes on this video. Do make sure, of course, to subscribe if you haven't already, and let's have a little look at the bookmakers' predictions for the Championship 23-24 season one last time. So then, guys, we are looking at it through a tier list here. I'm going to place them in the order of which the bookmakers have placed them in their predictions for the new season. We did do this video at the start of June, 2 months later, and the bookmakers have changed their minds on where they think a few of these teams are going to finish this season. Let's start at the top and work our way down. So the bookmakers' favourites to win the Championship for the 23-24 season is still Leicester City. They did tip Leicester to win the league at the start of June, and at the start of August, before the season starts, they also think Leicester City are going to win the league. Now, as someone who's watched a lot of people's predictions, Leicester City are the team that pop up the most as people's favourites to win the league, and it makes sense. Yes, they've lost James Maddison. Yes, they've lost Harvey Barnes since we last visited this kind of video, but they're spending money. They've brought in a manager in Enzo Maresca, who I think could do a fantastic job, and in terms of a budget, resources, and the players they've brought in the likes of Cody and Winks, and they've still got Vardy, they've got to be the favourites. Leicester City to win the league in the bookmakers' predictions. In second place, the bookies have gone for Leeds United, which is a hold. At the start of June, Leeds were tipped to finish second in the bookmakers' predictions. 2 months later, and they're still tipped to finish second. Leeds United's business, we've spoken about a few times on the channel, has been gradual. They've brought in Ethan Ampadu, they've brought in Carl Darlow. I'm quite impressed in some of the players that they've kept. Yes, they could maybe still lose one or two more players before the transfer window shuts, in the likes of Nonto. But in my opinion, if you put everything together for Leeds United, Daniel Farke, who's a serial winner in the Championship, yes, with Norwich, but you know, he certainly knows this level. Leeds United's fan base, they could make a massive difference this season. They've got an absolutely fantastic fan base, and the players that they've still got, I think everything there suggests that Leeds United will have a good season. I've tipped them to win the league. The bookmakers are tipping them to finish second. On to the third place team, and no change here from the bookmakers again. They think Middlesbrough will be pushing for the top two. They've got Middlesbrough to finish third. Now, having looked at loads of people's predictions, people that support loads of different teams, everyone thinks Middlesbrough will be there or thereabouts. There's a few people this season that think Middlesbrough could get into the top two, and I must say I would be so happy to see that, because you always get the teams with the parachute payments filling those automatic places. So if we did get a Middlesbrough, a Sunderland or a Coventry in the top two, I think that'd be great, and it'd certainly shake things up. I've personally put Middlesbrough in the middle of the playoffs. I think I've backed them to finish fourth, where they did last season, and they've got Michael Carrick. Yes, they haven't got some of the loan players that they had last season, but they've still got Chuba Akpom. They've brought in a few interesting players. I think Seny Dieng's maybe one to watch out for, their new goalkeeper. He could be really good this season. And Middlesbrough, in the bookies' eyes, are finishing third. On to fourth place. Once again, the bookmakers haven't changed their minds on this one. They've got Southampton. I must say, I'm very excited to see how Southampton get on at Sheffield Wednesday tonight in the opening game of the new season. Southampton will be the favourites. They will be the favourites for a lot of games this season. But you just wonder, away from home at a ground like Sheffield Wednesday, that's going to test the mettle of Southampton. You know, I know it's not a Premier League match. It's not quite of the standard they saw last season, but the Championship is a very competitive, hard-fought league, and every point you get, you have to scrap for. So, you know, I think Southampton will do well. They've brought in Russell Martin. We all know the capability of him as a manager in terms of what he's trying to do, what he's tried to do at Swansea. Never really materialised. We saw it in glimpses and a good end to last season. In terms of the players that they've got at Southampton, they have kept hold of quite a lot of key players. James Ward-Prowse is still there at the moment, but as I say, the transfer window isn't shut yet. They've got the likes of Adams and Armstrong going forwards as well. I think most people think Southampton will be somewhere in the top six. Some people are backing them to be in the top two. The bookmakers have them in fourth place. Like I say, if Russell Martin can get this team off to a good start, then who knows, they could be in good stead this season. Share your thoughts if you're a Saints fan. Right, on to fifth place. Now, this is where the bookmakers have changed things around a little bit since when we visited this video at the start of June. Up 2 places into fifth place are Ipswich Town. Ipswich finishing fifth would be remarkable. Now, yes, people will point out Sunderland came up last season and they got into the playoffs in their first season back in the Championship. That doesn't happen often. Not to say Ipswich can't do it, and I think out of all the teams coming up, Ipswich, Plymouth, Sheffield Wednesday, most people have Ipswich as the team to do the best. I think their style of football could work in the Championship. They've got a good manager in McKenna. They've got goal scorers in the likes of Chaplin. How will he get on in the Championship? I've personally put Ipswich in the top half. The bookies, really optimistic here for Ipswich. 5th place. Do share your thoughts if you're a tractor boy. 5th place would be ridiculous. On to 6th place, and this is where it gets interesting. Down 1 place is Ipswich's rivals, Norwich. Can you imagine if this was the playoff mix-up? And imagine if it was Ipswich versus Norwich in the playoff final at Wembley. That would be ridiculous. Like we say, at the start of June, the bookies had Norwich to finish 5th. They've now just nudged them down 1 place into 6th. I've seen a couple of Norwich fans talking about this season and they've got mixed views on it. I do like David Wagner. They have made a couple of good additions to their team. They've got a couple of players that could really shine in the Championship this year. But they're not quite of the Norwich City of 18-19 or 2021, those seasons where Norwich won the league. I think Norwich have a chance of making the playoffs. I've personally put them just outside the playoffs in my prediction. Wouldn't be entirely surprised if they get in there. They're difficult, aren't they? This is kind of like a new Norwich, a different Norwich, a Norwich that's going in a new direction. Still have the capability to get up there. Do share your thoughts if you're a Canary fan. Right, let's move on to the teams that the bookmakers have just outside the playoffs. In 7th place, the bookmakers have gone for West Bromwich Albion. Now, this is a 1-place drop. At the start of June, the bookies said West Brom are finishing 6th. In their predictions, they've now put them down to 7th. There's a few reservations about West Bromwich Albion this season, and I can understand why the bookmakers have thought, maybe not the playoffs. They've put them 7th, so not far away from it. But the business this summer has been pretty slow. They have offloaded a couple of players that I don't think were making massive contributions to their team. And they have got a couple of goal scorers there. I like Carlos Corberán. I keep saying that. He's a good manager at this level. And if he was backed and given the money to bring in more players that he wanted, I think West Brom being in the top 6 would be a sure bet for me. But maybe because they're now out of parachute payments, West Bromwich Albion are going to approach things differently. The bookmakers have them in 7th place. Do share your thoughts if you're a Baggies fan. I think I've got West Brom in a similar position, just sniffing around the playoffs this season. On to 8th place, the bookmakers have gone for Watford. I think with Norwich and Watford, they're still going to be up there in the bookmakers' eyes because they have still got the parachute payments. When I did my Championship predictions, I put Watford just outside the top 6 as well. You know, I think they'll be in the top half in terms of they've got quality. The signings they've made in the likes of Lewis, Ince, Livermore, for me, they are decent signings. They're sort of steady, solid Championship signings. But are they going to take Watford to that new level? I don't know. I think what we do want to see, everyone, maybe even Watford fans as well, is Ismail given time. Stick with your manager this time round. No one at Watford wants to see another Rob Edwards situation. That should have taught them a lesson. But yeah, I think Watford being 8th, I'm not really going to entirely disagree with that. Do share your thoughts if you're a Watford fan. The bookies think you'll just be outside the playoffs. On to 9th place, my side, Coventry City. The bookmakers have bumped Coventry City up 2 places. So at the end of May, start of June, the bookies thought Coventry would finish 11th in this season coming up. They've now thought, Coventry 9th. When the bookies did their first predictions for the new season, as I say at the start of June, they might have thought Coventry City could have a bit of a hangover from losing that playoff final in the way that we did. But the way we've gone about our business is fantastic. And, you know, Coventry City have always only moved up the pyramid under Mark Robins. And to finish 5th last season, that means if we were to do it this season, we'd be in the top 4. The bookies don't think we'll be in the top 6 again. They think we'll be right on the edge of it. We're 22-1 to win the league, so make of that what you will, Coventry fans. There might be a few Cov fans that might stick couple of quid on that, but yeah, I've got Coventry City in my top 6. I think we're going to do well again. Sims is a good signing, maybe 1 or 2 more coming in at the moment, but if we talk about the signings we have made, we've bolstered up that defence. Sakamoto looks like a decent player as well, so I think Coventry City are going to be in the shake. The bookies think we'll just be on the outside, but I personally think we'll be on the inside. On to 10th place, and the bookmakers have gone for Stoke City. The bookmakers haven't changed their mind on Stoke City. At the start of June they had Stoke in 10th, and now at the start of August they've still got Stoke City in 10th. Stoke are a tricky team to predict. Every summer people kind of struggle with where to predict them, and you know, since being relegated from the Premier League they just keep finishing in the bottom half. It does feel like maybe this time round, as opposed to previous seasons, there is a bit more cause for optimism, because even I think their transfer business has been good. But then you also want to base it on the history, and Stoke City are not trending in the right direction if you look at the past 5 seasons. But yes, we could get a season where it suddenly spikes upwards. We did see good signs from them towards the end of last season. I think Alex Neil, if he's given time, could build up an even better team. So share your thoughts, Stoke City fans. On to 11th place, dropping down the table 2 spaces, Sunderland. Now, I think Sunderland are going to be very close to the playoffs. I put them 8th. Sophie put them 6th. The bookmakers 11th. I don't know what to put that down to. For me, Sunderland have a lot going for them, not just because of that massive fan base that can make a difference. You know, it's a hard place to go, the Stadium of Light, and when they go on the road as well, Sunderland fans go in their numbers. They've got a good team. Yes, Diallo was massive to them last season, but you know, you've got the likes of Ross Stewart, who's going to be fit this season, at least they'll be hoping anyway, and some of the additions they've made, I think they've been interesting. Bradley Dack, if he stays fit. I think Sunderland will be a bit higher up than this, but the bookies have them in 11th. So share your thoughts, Sunderland fans. The bookmakers maybe not got as high expectations as everyone else for Sunderland. Completing that top 12, moving up 1 place, is Millwall. The bookies have Millwall 13th at the start of June. 2 months later, and they've bumped them into that top 12. Now, I just don't know how the bookmakers can't put Millwall in 8th place. It's where they finish pretty much every season. I've actually tipped Millwall to make the top 6. They're my dark horse to sneak in there. I think if they're not in the top 6, then they'll probably be 7th or 8th for me, because they're a solid team. I don't see them dropping down to 12th. Even though finishing 12th in the Championship isn't terrible, I think Millwall are better than that. And I think they've got a good thing going on. They've got continuity because they've got Gary Rowett. They've kept a lot of their good players from last season, and they've made a couple of interesting additions as well. So I think the bookmakers are underestimating Millwall as well here. They've got them in 12th place. Share your thoughts if you're a Lions fan. Right, into 13th place, the bookmakers have gone for Swansea City, which is a 2-place improvement. You probably can't see the Swansea badge there because it's black and there's a black background, but there you go. You're going to have to believe me, it's there. Swansea's a difficult one this time round. I always do struggle to predict a team that's changed their manager and a couple of their key players. Now, Swansea City were good overall last season. You could say they were good. In the final stretch of the season, they were magnificent, but things have changed. Russell Martin's gone. I do like Michael Duff. I think he did do a good job at Barnsley, but will there be a slow start as they just try and work things out? Possibly. They could also get off to a good start, which could once again stand them in good stead. I don't even think it's totally ridiculous for people to say Swansea could get in the top 6, but at the same time, I could see them finishing in the bottom half, if that makes sense. I'm just going to put that down to the fact that they've got a new manager, and I think anything could happen. I don't think they're going down. That's one thing I'm pretty certain of. I think they've got the quality to stay away from that. Joel Perreault's still there, and Jerry Yates a decent addition. I think Swansea City could be anywhere, and that's why the bookies have put them in the middle. But Swansea fans will be feeling like 13th is maybe a little bit harsh. Share your thoughts. Right, on to 14th place, Blackburn Rovers. Blackburn were 14th in the bookies' predictions when we looked at them at the start of June. They're still 14th. Once again, a bit like Swansea, it's a difficult one with Blackburn Rovers. Now, Blackburn haven't changed their manager. They have still got John Dahl Thomason, but it's the players that have changed. A lot of outs and a lot of ins. Now, it's still entirely possible that Blackburn's team is good enough to compete for the playoffs again. I mean, they finished 7th last year, so I do think this is quite harsh from the bookies, but I think the big picture is people look at the players like Ayala, Dak, Brereton, Diaz going out the door. Yes, Dak was injured for a lot of the time, but they were some of the main players for Blackburn Rovers, so you've got to build up a bit of a new spine, I suppose. They have still got a fantastically strong team for Championship standards, so mid-table isn't impossible, but I think they could be a bit higher than that. Right, on to 15th place. The bookmakers have bumped up Bristol City 3 places. Now, I've got Bristol City a little bit higher than this. The bookies did have Bristol City in 18th place originally. They've now put them up to 15th. You can put that down to a couple of things. Maybe it's their transfer business, which I think's been pretty steady. I think Bristol City have brought in a couple of decent players. And to be honest, the continuity at Bristol City now is not spoken about enough. There's been times where I've thought, okay, Nigel Pearson's going to go. It's not looking great. The results haven't been good. He's not handling himself great in the interviews. Maybe there's a bit of a thing between him and the players. Maybe it's not clicking. But to be honest, he's battled through. And I think coming into this season, there's no reason why Bristol City can't be at least a little bit optimistic about this season. I'm not saying they're going to finish 3rd or 2nd and set the world on fire, but they could be a bit better than last season. And last season was a base to build on. They were pretty much in the middle of the table. So, you know, take it baby steps. If they were to get into the top 10 next season, then maybe maybe top 8, top 6 the following season. I think Bristol City are in a safe pair of hands with Nigel Pearson though, and I would like to see them do well. I think they're a club with a lot of potential, good fan base. The bookies think they'll be pretty much where they were last year. Share your thoughts if you're a Bristol City fan. On to 16th place, holding in the bookies predictions, Hull City. The bookies had Hull City to finish 16th at the start of June. 2 months later, and they haven't changed their minds. I must say, this year, in my opinion, I've found Championship predictions the hardest to do because it's so competitive. And for me, there's a lot of good teams that have made a lot of good signings, and there's a lot of reasons to move teams up the table from where they finished last year. Hull City are an example of that, but it's going to be hard. I'm not saying it's impossible. I've seen a few people saying Hull City will get in the top 12, some people saying top 10. The bookies, however, think they'll probably hold where they were last year, pretty much in the middle. The additions they've made, like Liam Delap, that could be a good signing. Lekilo, he could be good. And Rosinia, another manager in the Championship I do quite like a lot. And if they get off to a good start, there's nothing to say Hull City can't be in a playoff chase this season. The bookies have got them in the middle. On to 17th place, moving up 3 places since we last visited this video. PNE, Preston North End. Now, when I did my predictions, I pretty much predicted Preston North End to finish in the middle of the Championship table, as they can do, as they have done over the last couple of seasons anyway. They've obviously not been good enough to get into the top 6 in the last few seasons, but obviously been good enough to keep themselves away from trouble. Preston are just a solid team, but it seems as if with the bookmakers and a few people's predictions I've seen, people think there could be a little bit of a regression here. I think it could come down to how they start their season. I think Ryan Lowe's an okay manager, but like I say, you know, if he gets off to a good start, the Preston fans will be right behind him, and who knows, there could be a playoff charge this season. But if they get off to a slow start, there could be quite a lot of pressure there. So we shall see, time will tell. On to 18th place, and the biggest mover in this video, Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday were tipped to finish 12th when we looked at the predictions at the start of June. They're now down to 18th, so they have moved the most out of any of these teams, down 6 places. It doesn't entirely surprise me with the kind of summer Sheffield Wednesday have had. Not many people would have predicted that Darren Moore would be going out the door quite so soon after their promotion. Xisco Munoz would be coming in. Not to say that that's a bad thing, by the way. I think Xisco Munoz could do a good job, but it is a bit unsettling changing the manager so soon after a promotion. And then the transfer business has been slow, but they have started to get a move on. Now, I've tipped Sheffield Wednesday to stay up. I think they'll be all right. I think they'll be quite clear of it, actually. I think there'll be a few places above the bottom 3. The bookies are going with the same here. They're kind of between mid-table and the bottom 3, pretty much like 18th place in this prediction. There's a few people that are tipping Sheffield Wednesday to go down. I think what could be influential this season is the fan base. I think going to Hillsborough will be difficult, and we will see that tonight. Will Southampton get the result at Sheffield Wednesday on the opening Championship night? They need it to be a fortress if they're to pick up the points required to have a good season. So we shall see, but good luck to Sheffield Wednesday. It's good to have them back. On to the next team. In 19th place, we have got Birmingham City, who have moved down 2 places in the bookmakers' predictions, which I must say I am a little bit puzzled by. Most people are predicting Birmingham City to have a better season than last. There's more reasons to be optimistic. There's new owners, there's new players coming through the door, there's Tom Brady, there's loads going on at Birmingham. Could be really exciting times for Birmingham City. It is also worth pointing out, though, I'm sure Birmingham City fans are aware of this, it could take a little bit of time for things to start connecting and clicking and coming together. It could be by the end of the season we're starting to see some good results, some really good play, and some things to suggest that maybe next year they can make a better challenge of getting higher up the table. Now, I've put Birmingham in the middle of the table. I really don't know why the bookies have moved them down into 19th place. Blues fans, share your thoughts down below. Maybe the bookies just don't like Birmingham. Down we go into the bottom 5. Just surviving, Huddersfield Town. They've moved up 3 places since we visited this video last. The bookies had Huddersfield finishing 23rd at the start of June. They've now got them to finish 20th. Now, if you think of what's happened in that time, in those 2 months, the bookies will have learnt that Neil Warnock is staying on now to become the Huddersfield manager for the next season, and maybe that's why they think they'll stay up. The additions to their team as well have been quite good. I've personally predicted Huddersfield to finish kind of where they did last season. I don't think they're going to go down. Huddersfield Town fans will obviously be hoping for a better season, and obviously they've got a chance of doing a lot better this season because they've got Neil Warnock from the start of the season. Now, just like I said with a couple of the other managers, I do feel like Neil Warnock does need to get off to at least a decent start with Huddersfield Town. They don't want to be left behind. They don't want that building pressure of being in the bottom 3 in the first 10-15 game weeks. The bookies think they'll survive. They have bumped them up the table, but only just surviving. Right then, on to the bookies' bottom four. Who's the final team they've got avoiding relegation? They have gone for Cardiff City. This is a 2-place drop since we last visited this video. The bookies had Cardiff in 19th at the start of June. 2 months later, and they've moved them down to 21st, but just surviving still. Cardiff City have had a decent transfer window despite a transfer embargo. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible they could still be relegated. I do think there is a real threat of Cardiff being in the battle this season. The bookies think they're just going to be on the right side of it. But as I say, despite a transfer embargo, there's reasons to be optimistic for the Cardiff fans. Carlin Grant, Yako Matey, Aaron Ramsey, a few others I haven't even mentioned as well. I think Cardiff City have done well to bolster that squad despite the transfer embargo. I am a little bit unsure about Bellew, the new manager. He's just going to have to prove how good he is. But once again, Cardiff, they probably need to get off to a decent start. We shall see. On to the bookies' bottom three then. And in 22nd place, the bookies have gone for Queen's Park Rangers. A lot of people are worried for Queen's Park Rangers this season, and the bookies haven't changed their mind on it at all this summer. Once again, when we did this video last 2 months ago, they had QPR in 22nd place. They haven't moved them. They think they will be better than 2 teams down there, but they have got them in 22nd place. As I say, the reservations at QPR are last season was quite concerning. There has been quite a lot of disruption behind the scenes at QPR as well. A few different faces this time round. Could be quite a lot of pressure on Gareth Ainsworth, once again, especially if they get off to a slow start. I think it's imperative QPR get off to a good start. You know, you saw what it did for them last season. The first third of last season, they were fantastic. And it was those points they got in the bank that kept them up in the end, because the final 2/3 of the season, they absolutely collapsed. So they cannot afford to start the new season like they ended the last season, but the bookies think they're going down. On to 23rd place. Now this one surprised me. The bookies think Plymouth Argyle will be relegated in 23rd, but they were so strong in League One. I mean, they bossed it, and they were ahead of Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday. I know that doesn't mean necessarily that they'll be ahead of them in the Championship, but I personally would be surprised if Plymouth go down. I've tipped them to stay up. I think they could be a battle. It's definitely a step up coming up to the Championship. But some of the players they've brought in, I mean, you know, some of the re-signings they've made, Whittaker, Barley Mumba, you know, I'm really surprised they brought in a couple of those players. So I think Plymouth will stay up, but the bookies are writing them off. But Plymouth Argyle fans, I wouldn't take it personally. You could just prove the bookmakers wrong. On to the final team then, and in 24th place, it is Rotherham United. I think the bookies always have Rotherham to finish bottom, no matter what they've done the season before. Last season, you've got to give them so much credit for staying up. But the bookmakers are obviously just looking at Rotherham and thinking, you're not going to do it this time round. And I wouldn't be entirely surprised if Rotherham did prove a lot of people wrong and stayed up this season. But then the bookies would still be writing them off the following season. So once again, Rotherham fans, you're just going to have to prove them wrong. The business at Rotherham United has been interesting. 1 or 2 key players going out. A couple of their additions look quite good. I personally think Rotherham will be in the battle. Wouldn't entirely surprise me if they stay up or go down. It will be interesting to see. But that completes today's video. So then guys, they are the bookmakers' predictions hours before the new EFL Championship season gets underway. As I say, do join us tonight for a stream between Sheffield Wednesday and Southampton. And join us for the season. Please do make sure you've hit that like button and subscribed. It is free to do. And I will see you in the next one. Good luck to everyone. The Championship starts now. Peace out.